So what's up, internet? Let's talk about 10 Cloverfield Lane, a psychological thriller which producer J.J. Abrams named the blood relative, the spiritual successor with the same DNA as 2008's amazing found footage monster movie Cloverfield. So they are marketing it as somewhat of a sequel to Cloverfield, but in reality it's just another way of saying that, hey, remember that movie you all loved? Well, now we're having this other movie released. It absolutely has nothing to do with the first one, but hey, we still think it's pretty good and we're still very confident in it, and we just want to get as many butts in seats to see it in theaters as possible. A sneaky marketing tactic? Yeah, absolutely. Did I hate it? Well, if the movie would have sucked, then maybe I would have. But, boiling down the plot into a nutshell, we have Michelle, our main character, who after fleeing from what appears to be a troubled relationship, gets into a terrible car accident, and wakes up chained to a wall in what appears to be a bunker/bomb shelter. She finds herself being held captive with two other men, one of them being Howard, a doomsday prepper who insists that he saved her life, and that they can't go outside because the outside world has become uninhabitable due to some sort of catastrophic disaster or attack or something. Howard seems to be a very unhinged person. As time goes by, we find out about him that he has some sort of military background, and even though he does show signs of kindness and generosity, he does take in these two and keep them safe in his bunker, his motivations for doing this might be more sinister than they would appear. Now, most of you who might follow my channel or know me personally know that I'm a really big fan of these types of films, these types of bottle films, films that take place in a single space with very few characters. Because these are the type of films which would be worthless if they didn't have good acting in it. And my god, did Mary Elizabeth Winstead knock this out of the park. She's really known for her roles in horror films like The Ring 2, Final Destination 3, Black Christmas, Death Proof, The Thing, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, bleh. Now I've seen some of those, none of them are complete garbage, and she has always been the best part about every one of those movies. But I'm so glad she finally got a part in a horror movie again, but in a horror movie that is this well crafted and executed. My girl is really good at what she does. I don't know anything about acting, but I always imagine that that's like the hardest thing to act. The hardest thing to pretend is to be scared when there's actually nothing to be frightened about. I tried acting in a horror movie once. It was a piece of shit. Primarily because I can't act, even though during a momentary lapse of judgment I thought I could. And on the flip side, we have John Goodman's character. Now I love John Goodman, who doesn't? I think he's one of the best character actors in the business. Character actor in the sense that he never really plays a leading role, but he always steals every scene in every movie he is in. Like in Trumbo, for example, which I reviewed recently, or The Big Lebowski, or Barton Fink. Especially Barton Fink came to mind, because when John Goodman wants to be creepy, John Goodman gives me the heebie-jeebies like no one else. The experience of watching this film in the theater was like being on the edge of your seat, but also being at the back of your seat at the same time. And you know why? Because I just wanted to get as far away from John Goodman as possible. He is that fucking scary. And it's the best type of scary, because it's ambiguous scary. Like I said, he can be very generous, but he can also become very aggressive. He has these very strange twitches he does with his hands, which I thought might be some sort of post-traumatic stress syndrome resulted from his military background. You're trying to figure him out exactly as Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character is trying to figure him out. You can never be too sure to what percent of what he is actually saying is the truth. It might be completely true, it might be partially true, or it might be total lies and there might be a more sinister motivation behind it all. John Gallagher Jr. does a good job as well, but he's more of a side character, he's more in the background, I would say. He doesn't have as much to do as these other two characters, but good job. And what made these characters really fascinating and relatable is just how smart they are. Keep in mind, this is not something too common in horror movies. They are smart, but they never feel too smart, you know what I mean? They make mistakes, they learn by trial and error. Some of the stuff she comes up with in order to try and escape and find out more about what's going on outside is very clever. You start to put yourself in the situation and think like, would I figure that out? Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, maybe I would, but it would take me longer, maybe it would be too late by the time I would figure it out. And he is equally as clever in trying to prevent that. And, that's bad for her. I mean, you don't want your foe to be as smart as you. That's not good. And it creates this very dynamic situation because there's always someone who appears to be one step ahead of the other person, It's very watchable, very entertaining, very tense. 10 Cloverfield Lane really reminded me of such films as Signs and the second part of the middle part of War of the Worlds, but played in reverse, played backwards. And what I mean by that is that in those films, our characters first find out that there's an alien invasion taking place, and then decide to go and try and hide in this basement and wait it out. Here it is the opposite. We first find our characters underground, but without actually them knowing exactly what's going on outside. John Goodman's character, who is actually a big conspiracy theorist, thinks and mentions that it might be some sort of nuclear or chemical attack. It could either be Russians or North Koreans, or it can even be aliens. And that does get answered in the end. I know some people weren't completely satisfied with the ending of this movie. I mean, I didn't think it was very good either, but it then by no chance ruined the experience for me. Yes, I thought it was a peculiar choice, but seeing as this is more of a popcorn movie, actually, I kind of get it, I think that really harkens back to the original Cloverfield, which was basically like a Godzilla movie dressed up as a found footage film. So what I really admire about these films is that they can take something which has already been done before, but make it a lot better. It just goes to show you that you don't have to spend billions of dollars on obtaining rights to the different properties. You can just make your own version of it. Make it better, make it low budget, put a lot more emphasis on writing good characters and good dialogue, and just make it a fun time, make it a scary time. So that was my 2 cents, folks. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you later with other reviews. Fuck? What is that? Is that an earthquake? Jesus.